As you continue on in your spiritual journey, and not only your spiritual journey, but just the journey of self-transformation, there is a natural process by which you will become increasingly more and more sensitized to negative energies. And not only just negative energies, but just energies that no longer suit you and are no longer conducive to your growth. And this can be an alarming process at first, because what's entailed in becoming more and more sensitized to these energies is really no longer being able to tolerate what we once were. Now, this can be hobbies, this can be activities, this can be conversation topics, this can be things that you do and how you spend your day, this can even be people you used to spend time with. And that can be one of the most alarming things, is when the group of friends that you had through your journey, through your awakening process, through your self-transformation journey, you begin to no longer resonate with where they're at. Now, I do want to stress that this isn't about better and worse. What it is about polarization. It's about polarity and difference, and surrounding yourself with that which supports you. Surrounding yourself with that which is conducive to helping you further awaken. Now, this happened to me really early on, where at 16 years old, my life was set in a trajectory that I could have never predicted. And it became a process of awakening, a process of spiritual discovery, of self-discovery, and self-transformation. And very quickly, it became apparent to me that the people around me that were my friends and my relationships, and it started to not resonate with me. Where I started to begin to feel very alienated, very isolated, where what my homies were talking about was not what I wanted to talk about anymore. And the relationships that I was getting in were not on the level that I wanted a relationship to be in. And the things that I used to do with my friends were no longer what I wanted to do. And my life began to change so rapidly at an alarming rate. And what resulted from this is feeling alone, like I said, feeling isolated, feeling alienated. There's a process in the spiritual awakening journey, not only the spiritual awakening journey, but like I said a moment ago, the process of self-transformation and self-evolution that's called the dark night of the soul. And one of the hallmark aspects of the dark night of the soul is the feeling of no longer fitting in. The feeling like you're on the outside looking in. Feeling like you don't click with anybody around you anymore. Feeling like what your friends that you've had for years do and talk about and how they spend their time, you don't want to do it anymore. Feeling like the relationship that you're in, that you've been in for years as this past version of yourself that you've now shed, feeling like that relationship no longer serves you. It no longer suits where you're at. Your qualities aren't meeting. You aren't resonating anymore. Feeling like you don't fit in. Feeling like nobody gets you. Feeling like you don't want to do what everybody else is doing. You don't want to go to the bar and spend your time talking about superficial stuff and out and about, just like, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to go shopping. You don't want to go to the bar. You don't want to try to pick up girls or guys or whatever. You don't want to talk about drama and all this nonsense. You don't want to talk about politics. You want to talk about life. You want to talk about growth. You want to talk about transformation and spirituality and God and what's required to grow in life and where you want to go in your life. But the alarming part is that nobody else around you, it seems, to be on that journey. And this can cause us to feel very alone, very isolated. And this happened to me. And what I really want to sort of speak to in this video is that process of becoming more and more sensitized to negative energies. And just, like I said a moment ago, not only negative energies, but energies that are polarizing to you. Now, when I say polarizing, what I want you to think of is that it's not bad, it just doesn't resonate with you. It's like somebody having a different opinion or a different belief system. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's just not where you're at. And why would you associate yourself with somebody who lives a life so like so different than you. It's not about better or worse or right or wrong or any of that. It's about what resonates with you. Now, the way that I've personally experienced this playing out in my life is no longer wanting to talk about certain things. No longer wanting to gossip and talk about people and politics, like I said, or go shopping and go to the bar and get drunk and smoke weed, or no longer wanting to like I've had friends in the past that go hook up, find girls and pick up girls and relationships and all this stuff, and how many people have you been with? And it's like, I'm all set, you know? And the way that played out for me was like just not wanting to do that stuff anymore. It didn't resonate with me. And another huge one, this is something that actually really has started to play out in my recent life, is no longer being able to tolerate negative, toxic energy. Now, a lot of us, maybe you watching this video right now, have some degree of the people pleaser energy dynamic. I sure as hell did. I'm a recovering people pleaser right now as I share this with you, where I used to be the kind of person where when there was negative energy, when there was toxic energy, instead of disconnecting myself from it, instead of like not associating with it, what I would do is I'd go in like an energetic emotional surgeon and try to fix them and rework it and make it better, and here, let me help you, let me get you this, let me be there for you, let me allow you to keep treating me this way because you're just having a hard time, and maybe if I allow you, you'll come into a space of love. And all this resulted in is me getting hurt and trampled on and manipulated and used and taken advantage of and all this stuff. You know, like, and there's still like echoes of that energy these days. Where just the other day, my dad messaged me and he said, "Hey, do you want to go and do this with me?" And I felt an uprising wave of that past people-pleasing energy. Where here's the truth: I didn't want to go and do that thing, but I didn't want to tell him that because I didn't want to bother him. So I felt myself being like, "Oh, damn, man, like I don't want to do this, but I don't want to bother him. I'll just say, yeah, I'd love to," even though that's a lie. I didn't want to. And before I sent that message, the people-pleasing message, the keeping the peace message, I stepped back into where I actually am. I owned how I actually felt. I said, no, I don't want to do this. And that's exactly what I told him. I said, thank you, but I'm all set. If you don't assert yourself in that way, you're going to keep getting used, you know? And me talking about outgrowing past belief systems and past energy dynamics, and as you grow, as you evolve and level up, you won't be able to be a people pleaser anymore, because it will become so crystal clear apparent to you how detrimental it is to your growth and to your well-being. You won't be able to do what you used to do in the past. You won't be able to tolerate the behaviors that you used to tolerate in the past. This is something, like, you don't even really need to practice it. Because once it starts to happen, you literally won't be able to associate with it. You literally won't be able to tolerate it. Now, I have a really, really far out story of the intensity to which this negative energy that you're outgrowing doesn't jive well in your body anymore. Now, this is a pretty far out story. So this was a couple years ago now. And this involves my dad, and I'm not here to throw shade. I'm here to tell things how they are and how I experience them. But my dad can tend to be a very dark, cynical, negative individual sometimes. And I'll leave it at that. But the way this story played out for me was, it was my grandfather's, it was either Father's Day or my grandfather's birthday. I can't really remember. And my dad invited me, my brother, and my grandfather down to his house to have dinner. Now, I don't hang out with my dad a lot. I love him so much, but I don't spend a lot of time with him. And you're about to see why. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go down for dinner, whatever, man. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I'll go down and hang out for dinner. So me, my brother, and my grandfather go down to my dad's house. And when I walk in, man, I can just feel this thick cloud of dense, it's a different density. It's like walking into a different medium. It's this dense, palpable negative energy. I don't know how to describe it. And as I carry on with this story, you're going to start to see what I'm talking about of not being able to tolerate it. To an insane extent, too. So I walk in and I just feel this negativity. It's just gross. And my dad, I don't even know what he was upset about, but he was really, he's like pretending to be okay, pretending to be fine, like we tend to do when we don't allow how we feel. He was pretending to be okay, but it was completely apparent he's not okay. He's not feeling too well inside. It was very dark. So he's cooking dinner, and he's like angrily cooking dinner and like angrily making shallow conversation with my brother and my grandfather. And so here's the really messed up part of the story. At the time, my dad, there was a cat that lived with my dad. Her name was Church, and she was such a beautiful cat. She's passed now, but she lived with my dad. And the reason she lived with my dad is because that cat, Church, was my dad's ex-wife's cat. And his ex-wife left when they got divorced, and for some reason didn't bring the cat. So the cat was living with my dad. And my dad is not a cat person. So I go home, I go to Dad's house, and I'm in there, and I see that Church, the cat, she doesn't have any food or water in her food and water bowl. And I see, you know those little nests, those little dens that cats will hang out in, where they're supposed to feel safe and loved and all this stuff? Like their little hangout zone? Church was hiding in that. She was hiding in it. And when I looked in and I saw her in there sitting all scared, and when I went to pet her, she pulled her head away. She was scared. She was terrified. She'd obviously been being abused by my dad. Sorry, Dad, but you know what I'm saying? So I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, does Church have any food? And he's like, no, I gotta go get her food. It's like, well, what the hell, man? So I fill up her water dish, and I take her out, and she was covered in her own pee and poop, and obviously had been smeared in it, because, you know, when your dog or your cat goes to the bathroom on the floor, the way to really show them and teach them a lesson is to smear their face in it, right? That's what my dad did. So Church was covered in her own pee and poop, terrified, wouldn't even drink water. She was just sitting there like a brick. So it was at this point that the negative energy began to absolutely consume me. Me and my grandfather started to play a game of cribbage. And I love cribbage. It's a fun game me and my grandfather used to play a lot. So we start playing cribbage, but the negative energy had mounted within me and was like multiplying rapidly. And guys, it got so intense that I forgot the rules of cribbage. I didn't know how to play cribbage anymore. I couldn't do simple math. I was forgetting when it was my turn. I became absorbed in this this insane negative energy. I was completely out of my mind with the amount of negativity. And I was getting this like fight or flight response saying, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to get out of here. So I managed to somehow finish the cribbage game. I don't even remember it because I was so absorbed in this negativity. And when that cribbage game was done, I got up. Oh, and another thing I realized, my dad was cooking dinner, and I remember in the middle of the cribbage game, I looked over at my dad and I see him angrily making dinner, and it registered me completely clear as day. I was like, I can't eat that food. That food is poison. That food is charged with evil energy. I cannot eat that food. So the cribbage game ends, and I get up, and I go over, and I hug my dad, and I'm saying, I'm sorry, but I gotta go. And obviously he's not aware of what I'm feeling. He's not aware of the reality that I'm on. And he says, wow, well, I hope you feel better, bud. I'm sorry you gotta go, and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I love you guys, but I'll see you later. And I go out, and I get in my car, and right when I sit in my car to drive away, I start sobbing my eyes out. Because I realized in that moment that I couldn't tolerate that energy. It was so repulsive. It was so dark that it was repulsive. It was disgusting. I could not be there. And God, or my higher self, or whatever you want to call it, picked me up and took me out of it. Now, this is an extreme example I'm sharing right here of not being able to tolerate energy anymore. Where I literally could not stay there. It was causing, I went into like an altered state of consciousness from how insane the negative energy was. You know? And there's different ways that this will play out in our lives. Where, you know, like, let's say you get in a relationship with somebody. And you like them, and they seemingly like you. But they live a life, and they lead a life, and they do things and hang out with people that you don't resonate with at all. I can say this about my past relationships, where I'd be out at a bar, drinking, listening to music that I don't like at all, talking about the most superficial shit, all because I have feelings for this person. So I'm completely changing myself. Changing isn't the right word. Abandoning myself is the right word. Completely sacrificing and abandoning everything I stand for, all to be with this person. So now I'm completely living a life that I don't even believe in, all because I like this person. And as you continue to grow, you're not able to do that anymore. You're not, it becomes, and like I was saying earlier, it becomes something, you don't even have to practice it. You don't even have to say, I am not going to abandon myself. I am not going, you know what I'm saying? It becomes a natural gut instinct. In the same way, when you touch a hot surface and you pull your hand off without even thinking about it, that is the same process by which when something that doesn't resonate with you comes up, or something that you no longer tolerate with comes up, you say no to it naturally, like spontaneously, without even thinking about it. It's like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to go to the bar and try to pick up girls. I'm not going to go get drunk and listen to music that I don't like. I'm not going to sit here and talk about politics and like drama with my coworkers. I'm all good. Sorry, you can do that. You're allowed to do that, but I'm going to go do me over here. I'd rather be alone living the life that I love than hang out with a group of people doing shit that I don't even agree with. You know? And like, it's wild the ways that this plays out for us. You know what I mean? Like, there was an example that it became apparent to me just the other day where, I don't know if you're familiar with my channel or whatever, or have watched my recent videos, but I'm in the process of moving out of the house that I'm in right now. And I went to visit this place. First of all, it's like an hour away from where I work. It seemed nice. The photos looked nice. But I get to the place. I had talked to the landlord or whatever, and she was like, okay, I'll meet you there. So I was like, sick. So I get there, and then she sends me a message, hey, I'm not going to be able to get there in time, but the place is unlocked, so you can go in. So I'm like, all right, this is weird. And I was in such a like foreign area, like a isolated area. I felt like I was about to get robbed or something. But I go into the place. Guys, the power is not even on. The power is off in the place. It's like dirty. There's like not a doorknob on the bathroom. The windowsill is filled with a pile of bugs that are bleached white from the sun. The fridge is gross. There's a tiny, dirty oven. And I start thinking to myself, I'm like, well, you know, I need a place, and like, I can clean this up, and like, I can work this out, and like, that would look nice once it's clean, and oh, I can get a doorknob. I'll clean the windowsill. It's good. It'll be nice when the power's on. You know, I start justifying and reasoning and bargaining. In other words, I start abandoning myself, sacrificing what I want out of desperation for a place to live. And so I leave the place and I call my mom and I start talking to her. And my mother is an absolute saint. If you watch my live streams on YouTube, you know her as the spiritual witch. Beautiful, beautiful being. And she starts pointing out to me, she's like, no, you are not living there, bro. Like, look what you're, like, I would already, the first thing I would be doing is moving into a neglected home. Not to mention what would happen after that. Out the gate, it's neglected, and my landlord isn't even meeting me halfway. I'm all good, bro. And me, like, rationing and rationalizing and bargaining and reasoning was like that past version of me that used to abandon myself to try to get what I want. And my mom reminded me, no, we don't do that anymore. You don't drop yourself down into a lower vibration all just because you want something. That's how you end up hurt. That's how you end up associating yourself with people, places, and activities that don't resonate with you. The most important thing you can do is to remain true and authentic to who you are, because that's what allows you to continue to grow. And as you continue to grow, the more sensitized you are to negative energy. Another way that this has manifested itself for me is not harming animals and plants and this kind of stuff. Now, years ago, I used to hunt. I used to be a hunter. And then at 16 years old, I had my mind blown by spirituality, and my whole life changed and shifted gears into a different direction. And I started to realize I'm all set on hunting. I'm not against hunting. If I were in a position where I had to hunt for myself, if I was in a position where I had to hunt for myself, I would do it with grace and honor and reverence. But to do it as a sport seems absolutely bizarre to me. I don't want to go and harm animals for fun. I don't like fishing anymore because what's entailed in fishing is to hook the lip and, you know what I'm saying? And it's pain. You're inducing pain in this animal. Naturally, through my progression and growth and evolution as a human being and the direction that I was going in, I started to not like to... It didn't make sense to me. I didn't want to go out and fish and hunt and do this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And even something as simple as, like, when I eat a meal, and you know how people like say grace? When I eat a meal, before I eat the meal, I look at all the ingredients, whether it's chicken or beef or whatever it is, and the plants and stuff, or eggs, and I take a moment to honor the animals that went into providing this meal for me. And when I see the plants, I take a moment to honor the plants that went into growing this meal for me. And I take a moment to honor the farmers who went into harvesting this meal for me. And I take a moment to sort of bring it all into mind. And it's profound how as you continue to grow, you're not going to like to do what you used to do. You're not going to like to talk about what you used to talk about. You're not going to be able to. That's the far out part, is you may even try to do the things that you used to do. You may even try to go out to the bar with your friend and have a good time. But it doesn't resonate anymore. It's not what you want to do. You don't want to gossip. You don't want to talk about drama and surface level stuff. This is something my mom deals a lot with her husband, is all they can link up on is politics and this kind of stuff, and my mom wants to talk about God and growth and spirituality and becoming a better, deeper, more holistic person. But when you associate yourself with people who only were there because of past versions of yourself, you've shed that past version of yourself, so therefore you've shed the connection you shared with this person. You ever notice how friends that you had just kind of naturally start to fall away? It's not because you did something wrong. It's not because they did something wrong. It's the natural evolution of us as human beings. And when you start to evolve in a spiritual, self-transformative kind of direction, that's where things start to get really shaky. Because a lot of the world around us does not understand the perspective and the perceptions of those who are on the path of spirituality or the path of self-transformation and self-evolution. I literally had an experience just this past weekend with my friend. We were at the beach, and little periwinkles, those little things that stick to rocks in the shell. I took one, and without even thinking about it, I tried to throw it out in the water, and without even thinking about it. And it landed in the mud, and I was like, damn, bro, I just threw that guy in the mud. He might die now. I don't know what they can handle and all that stuff, but I was like, I just caused, unnecessary suffering. You know what I mean? And it was so apparent to me. And my friend who I was hanging out with, God bless his soul, but wherever he's at, he's like, oh, dude, it doesn't matter. And he starts pulling him off the rocks and throwing him in the mud. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, dude, sometimes, that's just the way life goes, man. And then he starts stomping on them. Now, I love my friend. I love him. But that behavior is absolute bullshit to me. Like, what are you doing, bro? And it bothered me, and I called him out for it. I was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You're literally doing that deliberately because I just expressed how I shouldn't have done that. And now you're showing me that it's like, stop being such a pushover. Stop being so passive, man. Have some backbone. Have some lack of compassion for animals. And it was it did not resonate. It was like a barrier. I was like, bro, that's nonsense. Whatever the hell you're doing right now, you know how ignorant and arrogant you look? You know? And like, it's so absurd how that, like the way I feel, where I've come to in my awareness and in my growth is that of realizing my equality with all life. I'm no better or worse than you. I'm no better or worse than a periwinkle, man. I'm no better or worse than the grass that I walk upon. I'm no better or worse than insects. When I find insects inside, you know what I'm saying? Like a bug or a spider or a bee, even a bee. Do you think I kill it? Do you think I kill it because, what are you doing in my house? Or, you know, sometimes I'll feel lazy and I'll want to kill it. But what I do is I get my ass up, I get a little paper towel or a glove or whatever, and I pick it up and I bring it outside. Because who am I to take the life of this little life form, this intelligent, growing expression of God, all because I'm lazy, or all because I don't want it in my house? Or even worse, imagine I kill it because I think it's not as good as me. I think it's lesser than me. That's what was so horrific about that experience I shared earlier of my dad like mistreating and abusing the cat Church. It's just a cat. You kidding me, man? You're just a human. Imagine if there were a higher, more powerful being, maybe there is, by the way, that treated you in ways that you don't want to be. Imagine some being coming and stomping on you because you're just a human. You know what I mean? I'm getting a little passionate about the harming animals and all this stuff, and but it just speaks to what I'm talking about here. Have a good one. Enjoy that rhubarb, by the way.
I'll bring you some.
Yes, please do.
May come down and get some more if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Feel free. Sorry about that. What I'm speaking to here is how as you level up, as you evolve, you no longer will be able to tolerate the behaviors and the activities and the personalities of certain people. It's easy when you begin to level up and I mean, when I say level up, I more so mean grow. I don't mean like getting better, you know what I'm saying? But when you begin to grow and you start to outgrow things that you used to do, that's one thing because it's natural. You know how when you were a little kid and you start to outgrow playing with toys and that kind of stuff? You know, it's natural. But it's a little bit different when it's people that you hang out with, your friends, your family, your significant other, your romantic partner. It's a little bit different when the people you hang out with, the people that represented who you used to be, no longer resonate with who you now are. And I want to stress that it's not bad. It's a natural process of growth. In the same way, you know, crabs and animals and shells and snakes and insects for that matter will molt and shed their past skin because they're growing. That's what we do too. And we do it with what we like to do, our hobbies, what we do for fun, our beliefs, our personality structure, the people we hang out with, how we spend our time, what we like to talk about, where we see our life going, our morals, our moral standpoint, our economical standpoint. All this stuff begins to transform naturally, might I add, as you continue to grow. And it may be alarming at first to see how intensely you will begin to no longer tolerate the behaviors and the attitudes of other people around you. But what I want to say is, rather than allowing it, where Like my friend at the beach when he started throwing the periwinkles in the water and stomping on them. If I were to remain silent and, oh shit, that's not my problem, I don't agree with that, but I don't want to bother him, just causes more suffering, not only for me, but moreover for the periwinkles that he was continuing to throw carelessly. But because I came at him and said, dude, what the hell are you doing? It caused a resistance. It caused an opposition. It caused a polarization. It caused constructive tension. And if your friends say, hey man, you want to go out to the bar and get drunk and pick up girls and guys and shit? You don't want to, but you say, well, that's what my friends like to do, and you know, I gotta consider what my friends want, so yeah, I'll go out to the bar and get drunk and all this stuff. You're abandoning yourself, bro. You're abandoning yourself. But what you need to do is you need to say, you know what, no, I don't feel like it, I'm good. Or if your friends are talking about some just absolute surface level boring stuff that doesn't amount to anything, I'm all good on this conversation, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go do my own thing, alright? Like, you guys can have fun talking about that, you know, but I'm chilling. Like, I'm all set, you know? Or if somebody does something that you don't agree with, something that's harming you or others in your proximity, instead of being like, oh, like the bystander effect, like, I'm not gonna say anything because I don't wanna shake the card or whatever, you know, I don't wanna ruffle their feathers. You say, hey, you know what you're doing is completely unacceptable, you know, and I'm going to be the serving force in letting you know that. I'm not trying to control you. I'm telling you what you're doing is stupid, what you're doing is arrogant, what you're doing is wrong, and I don't agree with it. Now, carry on as you will. You know what I mean? But, like, your life is going to begin to change as you grow. Your life is going to begin to change, and the things that you do and the ways that you spend your time, I'm sure you understand by now, but I just wanted to shed light on how, you know, alarming this change can be. How we're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving, and this involves a lot of goodbyes, a lot of confrontation, a lot of no longer doing what you once used to do. But what I want to stress is that it's not wrong. It's the process by which you are evolving. And in order for you to evolve, in order for you to grow and transform yourself, what that implies is growing out of who you once were to become who you're meant to be. And it's not always an easy process. It involves a lot of change, and that change is oftentimes scary, depressing, isolating, alienating, maybe insecure. You're a little bit unsure of this change and all this stuff. But if I'm telling you, if you remain steadfast in this transformation, it will only result in the benefit of your growth. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. And as I always say, if you resonate with this content, right now I'm offering a limited time offer where I'm doing completely free coaching sessions through Zoom, 1-hour sessions. And if this video resonates with you, or if you watch my content and anything resonates with you and you have something that you want to talk to me personally about, if you go to the top of my YouTube channel, you're going to find in the links section a link that says Beta Coaching Program. And it's in that link that you'll find everything you need to sign up for a session with me. And I would greatly appreciate it, you know, and it's a limited time offer. So if that resonates with you, if that sounds nice to you, if there's something you want to talk to me about, definitely take the advantage and take that offer, because it's not going to be around forever. But with that said, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Leave a like on this video before you click off, because it's just a simple little click and it helps take these videos so far. And if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, because I post content like this every single week. So I will see you all later. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you later.